This show is brought to you by the Deluxe Edition Network. Head over to the Den.show for other great podcasts.
You take drugs, Danny?
Every day.
Good.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Deluxe Edition, the show where we love to dig deep into classic pop culture and just shoot the shit about all things. I'm Bill Stiebald, here as always with my friend Casey Shearer. How are you, sir?
Not bad, Bill. Happy New Year. How are you?
Oh yeah, that's right. It's a new year. New year, new you. What's your, have you made any New Year's resolutions?
Not really, no. It's not a resolution. It's just I have to lose weight. Like, I gained just about all of the weight that I lost before moving to Florida. I gained it all back down here. So actually today we're recording January 3rd, little behind the scenes action. Today was you can't start on the 1st. You can't start on a weekend. So today, Monday, we're recording. I started my intermittent fasting again. So
Yeah, you're really into that. I got to do that. You're really into that. So that really works for you. I've had a lot of people tell me that that's the thing to do. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm going to lose this weight by starving myself." I'm like, they used to tell you not to starve yourself, and now they're like, "Hey, starve yourself. It works."
yeah, it's really not starving yourself. You're allowed to eat, between the hours of 11 and 7, if those are the hours that you choose to eat. I mean, you can't eat constantly for the 8 hours, but as long as you eat a balanced meal or two in those hours and walk a little bit, exercise, you'll be good.
All right. Well, if you say so. I mean, as our show's resident pothead, I'm thinking, munchies would be pretty rough on you. But now you're like, fuck it. I don't even get the munchies. I don't even eat. You are like the rock star stoner.
Dude, I don't get the munchies anymore from smoking pot, but I will tell you, I get the munchies if I eat edibles, which I try to eat at night. I try to get indica edibles so I can help me sleep at night because I have a rough time sleeping with my shoulder pain. So yeah, as long as I can fall asleep before those munchies hit, I'm good. But
Well, you know what? We're talking about weed today because the show is about weed, Casey. You had this great idea. Hey, we ought to cover marijuana usage in pop culture and the history of it. And, well, I don't know about the history of marijuana in general, but the history of marijuana and how it's sort of played a role in film in Hollywood. But before we get into this, Casey, I got to do that obligatory thing that all the YouTubers are doing. Everybody, please remember to subscribe and like. Right? Isn't that what they say? Smash that bell. Do you smash the bell, Casey?
I do.
No, you do? Well, I didn't hear it. Smash the bell.
Bing, bing, bing.
Oh, very good. Very good. That was a little bell. Hit it harder. Come on, Casey. Give it a little bit more. A little bit more. All right. That's a little bit more balls. Not enough. More, Casey. More. No, mother. You got to do it like this. Yeah, that's how you smash a bell. I did all that work downloading those waves like 2 seconds before you came on. So if you think it's not funny, don't worry. I didn't give it any thought. I didn't think it was funny either.
Thanks for always prepping.
Well, again, a Monday night show. I was tired from work today. Going back to work after taking all that time off from the holiday. Oh my God. It's like the worst. It is the worst.
Dude, I am not looking forward to it. I had the last 3 weeks off and I have to fly to Buffalo on Wednesday and then back the same day.
Oh my God, you're always in the air. It's incredible. Incredible. You might as well just grow wings and learn how to fly. Like get a jetpack. Like there's got to be something better for you than getting into these airports every week, running around, dodging the COVID. I don't know how maybe it's too personal to bring it up, but you haven't had it. I don't know how you haven't had it because right now everybody I know besides you seems to have it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Smoke weed. That's about all I'm doing.
When you grew up, all right, so we're a couple of years different in age. I'm 46, born in 1975. You're born in the very early 80s. So we always talk about how there's such a uniquely, that's not the way to put it. There's really a difference between your growing up and my growing up, even though we were only a couple of years apart. So talking about weed today, I'm going to tell you my experience with weed growing up, there was almost none of it around. Like weed to me was the worst thing in the world. You could have said crack heroin, meth, and weed, and I would have said, oh, they're all the same, because Nancy Reagan used to tell me they were all the same in the 80s, right? So in my neighborhood, for whatever reason, and I had the complete, like, traditional, suburban, outside of Philadelphia kind of life, but weed was never around. So when I'm watching HBO and Cinemax and all those things late at night, and like Cheech and Chong movies are coming on and things like that, and I'm watching these guys smoke the weed, I'm like, oh my God, they're doomed. It's over for to me, it was such a scary fucking thing. And it didn't really, nobody demystified it for me until maybe about 10 years ago. What was it like for you growing up with weed?
Dude, I had no, like, same with me. I played football, and like I had friends that all told me later in life, like, that they all smoked, like, started smoking weed when they were younger, but a lot of my friends were and are still to this day afraid of my father. So it was just nothing, like, they would not ever, it's just not, it was never in my world ever. And then, like, you're saying about like the Cheech and Chong movies and stuff like that. I lived in Temple up on top of a hill, and like we didn't have regular cable up there. They never put cable up. My dad still doesn't have cable up there. He has a satellite dish. And back in the early 90s, I guess we had one of those giant satellite dishes. That was the first time like I had any experience like with like anything, like, unless like I was at my friend's house or something like that and was exposed to something, but I don't really remember like anything until I first got high when I was like 18, 19 with a couple of my friends. I don't ever remember like anything about weed. Like, no one ever, I don't remember it in seeing it in anything. It's like I lived a strange childhood, I guess.
Well, I mean, you said you lived in Temple, and for everybody listening, Temple, Pennsylvania. I mean, it's kind of the mountains, like you're getting into the mountainous area. So, yeah, I mean, that's not a very densely populated area. I mean, you can sort of be unexposed to so many things. The deeper you get to Pennsylvania. I remember getting caught one day when I was young trying it. I slept over at a friend's house, and his brothers. Right, this is like the '80s. Right, the brothers had the '80s hair band. They were the wannabes, right, and they had the whole garage turned into their jam studio, their rehearsal studio. And I remember one time I'm staying over at this guy's house. We're like, let's go sneak into the rehearsal studio. And I remember seeing an ashtray, and we're rooting through for the littlest piece of weed, and we stabbed it with a damn like Chong does it it Up and Spoke, stab it with a safety pin and try to light that. And don't remember anything coming of it, but I remember the next day my dad picks me up because I still wasn't driving. He picks me up and he goes, "Are you smoking?" It's like, "Fuck, how did you know?" And like the great liar I am, I'm like, "Oh, it was Ed's dad. Smoked cigars." And my dad went, "Okay." Like, oh shit, dodged a bullet there. And then I don't think I smoked again for shit, maybe like 15 years. And I remember I was watching a Jason movie and I was smoking. Okay. Remember, a kid who has no experience smoking, right? You're going to have anxiety the first few times you do it. I'm never smoking again. Somehow you do it again and then you overcome the anxiety. So I'm watching a Jason movie, and I think it's part 3 or part 4, but there's a part where Jason's just killing somebody, right? He's just hacking down on somebody. And these movies are typically like stunt kills, like that. They're just like over the top kills. But he's sitting there hacking this guy, and the guy goes, "He's killing me. He's killing me." And that freaked me the fuck out. I'm like, so what would it be like to be there, to be stabbed multiple times by somebody? Jesus Christ, this is terrifying. So that kept me off weed for another 15 years. So I like never had great experiences with weed. It was totally, I don't know if it was like different back then. Was the weed street weed? Was it totally a different kind of weed than you get nowadays?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. There, when I first started smoking pot, it was like I was 18, 19. It was a couple of my friends, and I'll never forget it. Like you said, you remember the first time you smoked. We were up at my dad's house. My parents were divorced, and my dad was going out to the Pittsburgh area to meet a lady he had known, I guess, for a while. And like I would have parties up at my house, and my friends introduced me to this weed, and I have always made really good egg sandwiches. So I made these egg sandwiches, and my my buddy Dustin, I'll never forget it, dude. My buddy Dustin, he starts like just violently throwing up. And I don't remember if we were drinking. Maybe he had, because my dad did have a bar there, so maybe like he was getting drinks and I didn't know it, or I don't really remember what, but he started like violently throwing up. And I'll never forget, he looked at me like I was holding the trash can or whatever, bag for him, and he's like, dude, I just wanted to let you know it wasn't the egg sandwiches.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's puking your egg sandwiches. You're like, I make the greatest egg sandwiches, but nobody can attest to that because they get sick. So what? It was just the weed made him sick.
Like I said, maybe it was maybe they were sneaking some drinks too at the bar and I didn't know it, or I'm not sure. You know what I mean? Like we were so young, dude, like 18, 19. It
I'm not
wasn't
buying he was
something I
sneaking.
was.
I'm not buying Dustin was sneaking drinks. Like when you're 18, when you're that young, you're drinking together. You're sneaking around together. Those were some fun times, sneaking around liquor cabinets. I used to do that all the time. All right, I took a little bit out. Make sure to put some water in to make sure it looks the same to my mom and dad.
I was I was a good kid, man. I was terrified of my dad too. I never did anything like that. I never drank like any of his booze or anything like that. I didn't. I remember the first beer I had too. It was a kid Kyle. He gave me a warm Coors Light after I left my shift at Joey's Only Seafood Restaurant, and I drank it on the ride home, and it was fucking disgusting.
I always hear those stories. Like I don't know if anyone does this anymore, but when we were a kid, it was like, yeah. My dad gave me a cigarette because he caught me smoking. He said, now smoke this. And he made me smoke it in front of him. And I loved it. It was like totally backfiring on the parent. He was like, they're going to get sick. I don't know if that's ever happened, but I was a pretty good kid too. I have those couple stories, but same thing. I wanted to keep my nose clean. I didn't want to get in any trouble. So yeah, weed wasn't even something that was on my radar.
Yeah. Once it fucking became on my radar though, man, I never fucking slowed down. I'll never forget, dude. My friend Kelly Murphy, he's passed away now. We had like big plans to become pro wrestlers, and like we were gonna be tag team partners and tag team champions and all this shit. And he found out I started smoking weed, and he came to me and he's like, "Can I have a talk with you?" And like had like this serious talk about like how his uncle like went down this road and this and that, and it opened up other, like he's now, he did cocaine and this and that and blah blah blah. I was like, dude, it's weed though. You know
Well,
what I mean?
that's what we were told. We were told it was a gateway drug to worse things. Smoke weed, you will get pregnant. Smoke weed, you will jump out of a window. I guess we're going to talk about a movie later that they do that. Yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's like nowadays we're starting to say, hey, there might be some actual medicinal purposes in this weed, right? We have an opioid issue, but we got this federal government that's like, they just won't recognize it. And I know people that work at pharmaceuticals are big around here near Philly, and they'll say like, we would love to do stuff with cannabis instead of opiates, but we can't. We're legally not allowed to. But they always made you feel like it was a gateway drug. Like I remember like Brad Pitt on the couch in True Romance, right? He was stoned out. He was the stoned character in that episode. And I'm a young impressionable boy watching this, and he's like, "Whoa, dude, what? Who are you?" And I'm like, "Wow, that must be what it's like to be wasted. That looks terrible. That guy's brain must be gone. He's never going to hold a real job in his life." Like, that's the way we were taught that weed was. And meanwhile, there's all these people that are smoking weed going, it ain't like that at all. But nobody told me.
There's still people that they're not familiar with weed. Like my old boss, he would always do that. Like oh hey man, this is Casey when he's stoned. It's like, no, I'm stoned right now, just to let everyone know in the listening audience, and that's not how I talk.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. We said out on the last show, I'm like, I couldn't do what you do. I'm drinking coffee. We have different. This black water gets me going, especially on a Monday night when it's 8:00 and I'm usually in bed in 2 hours. So why don't we get going with the show? What would you like to do first? Do you want to cover some movies? Do you want to go into a little bit of a oral history of weed? Tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah, let's do a little history here. I did a little research on weed in film and television, and going back to 1924, Bill, is the first time I could ever find anything about marijuana in cinema, and it's in a short called Notch Number One. And it's also known as High on the Range. It's on YouTube. You can find it. It's an anti-marijuana thing. It's in a Western setting. It's a clean-cut cowboy decides to experiment with weed, and then in a matter of time, he turns into a killer.
Get out of here. What year was this? 1920 what?
1924.
Wow. Like, how long has weed even been around, do you know? I would have thought that, weed hadn't been discovered until later than the 20s.
Oh no, man, weed's been around forever. It's goes way back in the history of medicine and long before 1924, man.
Yeah, wow.
Long before probably books were written.
Wow. You think dinosaurs were smoking weed?
So, all right, the next thing then that I could find, they 1932, they turned it sort of into a the way that actually weed is. It was a robber. It was called the Jewel Robbery, and William Powell is a burglar, and he hands everyone in this room, these laughing cigarettes, and within a matter of minutes, or he calls them his special cigarettes, and they have a pleasant, harmless smoke, and then within like a few minutes, they're all laughing hysterically, and then he just robs them.
Oh, wow. Ha, I got you suckers with the wacky tobacco. You can't stop me now. Yeah, we can just reach down and grab your hand from putting your hand in my pocket and steal my wallet. What do you think? We're fucking in comas? What the hell? That's great.
Yeah, maybe the weed was a lot better back then. Who knows?
Huh.
So then this is the one that we mentioned a little bit about, which I know you know a little bit about. 1936 then was the movie Reefer Madness.
Right.
You know about this?
Yes.
Yeah, it was originally called Tell Your Children. Sometimes also titled The Burning Question, Dope Addict, Doped Youth, and Love Madness. It's an American propaganda film. High school students are lured by the marijuana, and there's everything from a hit and run accident, suicide, conspiracy to murder, attempted rape, hallucinations, everything that you could think of that could go wrong by smoking marijuana happens in this movie.
So how old was that movie? I knew it was older, but I would have thought it was the 50s, mid 50s. You're saying it was older than that.
1936.
Damn. I had no idea, because I know they sort of brought it back several times to like kind of say, hey, this is you said it was propaganda, American propaganda. So did the government make it?
It was actually made by a church, intended to be shown to parents, teaching them the dangers of cannabis use. But then actually Harry Anslinger, he was the head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. He used it then to turn the people against marijuana in the country, and it was basically all based on racism, because mainly the marijuana came into the United States from Mexico. So Harry Anslinger's, one of his things, he believed that smoking pot would result, if women smoked marijuana, he believed that it would result in them having sex with the darkies. He said that.
Get the fuck out of here. It's like sometimes you look at the world and the state we're in right now, and then you tell me a story like that, and I say, that was only 100 years ago. Like, we're not very advanced as a civilization at all.
Dude, it's fucking crazy, man. He said reefer makes darkies think they're as good as white men.
No, gross. So I do know that movie was in the 70s. I guess they started to do like those midnight movies, and I know Frank Zappa had a midnight movie, and a lot of people had these midnight movies. They become cult classics. They started to show that in midnight movies because everybody just thought it was so absurd. So it sort of had a resurgence again. And I guess that's how it still stays on everybody's radar. Eventually, these movies have to live in our collective conscious or in somebody's fucking, closet until they can be put on videotape or put on streaming, So it is interesting that movie, is still around. I'm sure so much of that stuff from the 20s and 30s is just gone, just dissolved.
Oh, yeah.
But this one survived.
Well, this doesn't have anything to do with marijuana, but Vampira right here.
Yeah.
There's
the people listening, he's pointing to a picture on his wall. He always forgets that sometimes the people listening Can't see you.
Watch us on YouTube.
That's all you can say. Yeah.
So Vampira right here on my wall, poster on my wall. Yeah, nothing to do with marijuana, but like you said, she was back in the time where the things that were put out on television and stuff, and especially live shows that were put out on television, were never recorded. Unless someone at home somehow recorded them, a lot of that stuff got taped over with other shows that, like, because they just didn't have the supply of the film, so they just used like old film and just kept going over and over stuff. So it's yeah, there's so much stuff that is just completely lost. It's sad.
I can relate. I had tons of VHS tapes of David Letterman for some reason. I taped over with late night Cinemax, which is true. So I totally get it. I mean, there's always so much tape. You have to use what you got. But that's crazy to think that so much content is lost. Early filmmaking just gone.
Yeah. So you mentioned that this Reefer Madness was then later shown. You see it now. There's voiceovers and all that stuff. It was purchased by a producer, Dwayne Esper. He recut the film for distribution on the exploitation circuit, and then through the 50s and 60s, there wasn't a ton of stuff out about marijuana or in cinema that I could find anyway. So if anyone's listening and they know of anything prior to what I found, let us know. Because the next thing I found was an episode of Dragnet in 1967. And I actually watched this a little while back. It's I can't remember the names of the characters from Dragnet.
Oh God, Friday.
Friday from the show, the original show.
Yeah.
So they get called in. There's suspicion of a young couple that are smoking marijuana, and they have a baby at home, and they're having a party, and they deny it, and then they show up later. They get reports of another party, and they show up, and the baby had drowned in the bathtub because they were high.
Well, that I can believe. That I can actually believe. Because you do get forgetful.
You get forgetful, but come on. I mean, who's going to forget their fucking child in a tub?
Remember how I said only 100 years ago? We're not that civilized. I'm sure people have gotten high and forgotten their baby. I guarantee it's happened. And probably more than 1,000 times last week.
Well, you make a good point, Bill, because I've listened to podcasts and I've always had this wonder. I hear ads for, I forget what it's called now, but there's ads for making sure you check your back seat before you get out of your car to make sure you don't leave your child behind.
There you go. There you go. As more and more states legalize weed, more products like that are going to come out.
It's crazy. If you're I mean, I never wanted to have children of my own, but maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I would be forgetting those children in the backseat.
Casey, how have you been? Good. How's your kids? Shit, I forgot I had kids. Where the fuck did I leave them? Yeah, maybe it's for the best case.
All right, so the next thing I found, I'm sure you can tell us a little bit about this movie. Have you ever seen Easy Rider?
You know what? Here's another embarrassment, right? One of the greatest movies of all time, they say, and I haven't seen it. It's on that list of Titanic, Godfather. Like one day I'll get around to seeing them, but no, that one just never appealed to me. I ride Harleys, but it just something about the movie I don't even know what the plot is. It seems like a plotless movie. What is the movie about?
I honestly don't remember. It's been a long, long time since I've seen it. I don't remember. I just know that they don't, make marijuana look evil in this movie. And this is the next thing that I could find in the list of, marijuana in film and television. Yeah. 1969.
Right. It was Fonda and
Nicholas.
Right. Yep. Jack Nicholson was in it.
Nicholson, yeah.
And the guy who passed away was in Speed. He was in the Mario Brothers movie. Did you know there was a Mario Brothers movie? You didn't know there was a Mario Brothers cartoon show. Oh, what was his name? He was in Chainsaw Massacre 2. God, he's great. Everybody loves him, and I can't remember his name.
I'm sorry, man.
I know it. I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
All right. Right now, the entire audience is screaming at me because I can't think of his name. Remember, please go to YouTube and write your comments. Curse me out. It tricks the algorithm. It'll help us rank better. So take advantage of my stupidity and bad memory. I was stalling for time there, thinking the name would come to me. Man, I'm looking right at his face in my head, and I can't think of his name. Anyway, all right. Anyway, moving on from Easy Rider.
Yeah. Other than that, 1969. So then Nixon declares the war on drugs in 1972. And it's weird, Bill, because after that, the perception of marijuana on film and television changes. It's not demonized anymore.
Why? I don't understand.
Know. I wish I knew.
The president says drugs are bad. Suddenly TV goes, hey, it ain't so bad. I mean, I guess that is kind of the way. I was a conservative in power and the liberal, Hollywood. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know.
I have no idea. So it's Sanford and Son and Barney Miller both had marijuana in 2 episodes that broke away from the baby killing stigma. Fred's Treasure Garden. So he must have been growing. I've never seen these, but I can imagine his name was Fred, right? So I can imagine that he might have been growing some marijuana. And Hash was the Barney Miller episode. And it didn't give me a ton. Just, characters become a little more forgetful, happy, stuff like that.
All right.
I never saw any of those. So then, 1978. You know what happened in 1978?
I turned 3.
One of our guests and his partner came out with their first movie.
All right.
Cheech and Chong, Up in Smoke.
Yeah.
And the world changed.
Fantastic movie. I adore that movie now. Like, just watching it is such a time capsule of the way filmmaking was back then, the way humor was back then. It's a great movie. It's wonderfully directed. And Tommy Chong, like you said, he was on our show. We talked a lot about it. We talked about what he contributed to it. It was just a group of really creative people coming together and making such a good movie. Are you a fan of it? I don't ever hear you talking about Up in Smoke.
No, I love it, dude. I love that movie. It's the original. I mean, everything changed after that. Yeah. Everything on about weed changed after Cheech and Chong. We actually had two of our former guests are in that movie.
That's right, Tom Skerritt. Right, he plays Strawberry. Oh, he's so good in that. Every time this is one of the movies that I will put on and watch all the time. There's only like 3 or 4 movies that I'll do that. If I'm just sitting around going, I feel like having something on, I'm going to put on Up in Smoke. Yeah, the music is great. The jokes all land. Everything is good.
Still to this day, my buddy Jim Morgani, the guy I did the other podcast with, On the Road with Jim and Casey, the episodes are still out there. I still, to this day, when I see him, I use the one line from that movie, which Chong's father, when Chong's making the banana, smoothie, he goes, "When, boy, when?" About getting the job.
Yeah. In the beginning, the rich dad, and he's like the beatnik kid. Yeah, and you know what's weird about that? He calls him Anthony, right? Chong's character is Man. Cheech's character is Pedro. It's Pedro and Man. So all of a sudden they call him Anthony, and like I'm always for a long time I was like, all right, Pedro and Anthony. Cheech plays Pedro, Chong plays Anthony. I don't think they ever called him Anthony again. And then what I loved about that too is they went on, right? People started to think Cheech and Chong were the characters in the movie. Cheech and Chong are 2 character actors. Pedro and Man are just 2 characters. They were characters that they did skits of. You can go and listen to the skits on Spotify because they were all released as records. So that's what this movie was made of. It was made of Cheech and Chong skits.
Right. But you're right. They were two character actors. Chong has turned into his character.
He sure has. Yeah.
Cheech has moved on to other things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they reunited for a stint there, and
Oh
he
yeah, I
seemed.
saw him in Reading. I saw him in Reading, Pennsylvania at the theater there. They were great. They did all their old skits. They don't need any new skits. Nobody wants to see any new Cheech and Chong stuff. Just do your old stuff. It's fucking awesome.
Well, the one thing I'll say about Cheech and Chong, right, as 1978 ended, 1980s came around. Cheech and Chong now were kind of household names. It was kind of like a Pee Wee Herman thing. They all thought that these characters were them. They had to keep on being these characters. So Cheech and Chong gets the next movie, Cheech and Chong's next movie. Then there's Things Are Tough All Over, Nice Dreams. There's a whole bunch of Cheech and Chong, and I guess they were part of some weird shift in the 80s where it was like Up in Smoke, 1978, kind of a stylized, well put together movie. Good timing, good. The jokes land, and then all of a sudden it became sex comedies and just jokes and nudity and just like everything just became chaotic. And frankly, it was probably because Tommy took over and started directing his own movies, and that's the way his style went. But they sort of led this path of 80s sex comedies. I wonder if we can go back. I was too young to know. Maybe we can find somebody to ask. But did Cheech and Chong really set off that change of anything goes in the 80s? Because now we're talking about marijuana, nudity, everything is just suddenly over the top on the screen.
Yeah, you might be right because I have their list of movies and I never realized this. Up in Smoke, 1978. Next movie, 1980. Nice Dreams, 1981. Things Are Tough All Over, 1982. Still Smoking, 83. Like they were just knocking them out
Yeah.
year after year. Still Smoking that was actually the one where they went back onto the stage. Like you can see them doing their skits on stage. They do the tour, right? They're in Amsterdam or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was kind of, I don't remember if I got this question now, but when we were talking to Tommy, I was curious why they went to that. That seemed like it was really phoned in. Like, hey, you know what? They'll take anything. Just film our show. Like, Hollywood will take anything we give them now.
Right.
But I think maybe either he said it with our interview or I read it somewhere else. He's just like, look, yeah, I just want to show the world like we're more than just these characters. And Still Smoking really did that. That was the first Cheech and Chong movie I found. Right. So there was all like dick jokes and all sorts of stuff like that. I'm like, these guys are great. I'm a little kid, 14. I'm like, wow. But then, the smoking stuff, I just didn't get the weed stuff. Not all Cheech and Chong movies have weed in them. One of them has no weed in them.
After Still Smoking, they did make the Corsican Brothers sometime later in the 80s, but that had no weed. I think there might have been a pipe in it that someone lights at one time. I remember watching it, but that was it. They don't even call it marijuana or anything like that in the movie. So Still Smoking was the first. You saw their last movie first.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm almost wondering if they were like contract. They had some sort of contract where you know how like record label album bands will do that. They'll get into a contract and then they have to make a certain amount of albums, but then they fall apart and they're not a band anymore.
Yeah.
So then they have to do like a live album or some shit like that. You know?
Yeah. Well, Tommy was pretty. Oh, he's like, look, things were getting rough towards the end. Like we were starting to grind gears together. We just weren't together making the magic we used to. So I'm sure. I think you're onto something. You owe us one more movie. Crap. What do we do? How about that footage we shot at one of our stand-up shows? Yeah, I'll just throw it in. Shit. Could have been. Cheech and Chong. God damn, I love Cheech and Chong so much.
Yeah, man.
Which is funny from a guy who didn't even grow up with weed. Like, didn't even get weed. I just got them. They were funny.
Right. So then I remember this is something I actually remembered from seeing when I was a kid, but I guess I just didn't get it. 1980 National Lampoon's Vacation came out. Do you remember the weed scene in this?
No, what was it?
When they go visit the cousin Eddie, the girl.
Right. The bad influence daughter of cousin Eddie. Right.
And then she gives like the pack of cigarettes or whatever that has the weed in it. She gives to the grandmother when they get pulled over with the dead dog.
Yeah, I forgot about that. All right.
Yeah. So then, 1984, things change again a little bit. This is President Reagan comes in with the just say no with Nancy, his wife, the office. They established the Office of the National Drug Control Policy with the Just Say No campaign.
The drug dealers need to know that we want them out of our schools, neighborhoods, and our lives. And the only way to do that is to take the customers away from the product. Say no to drugs and say yes to life.
Do you remember this as a kid?
Yeah, very much. It was all over my elementary school. Nancy Reagan made an appearance on different strokes to promote it. Like, it was in our faces as kids like crazy.
Yeah, I didn't have that. I had the DARE program when I was a kid.
Yeah, that wasn't so big in my youth. That kind of came later.
Yeah.
See, it's that difference of like 6 years in our age. 4 years. I don't even know what the difference is, to be honest, but it feels like a different universe. DARE, yeah. Did you have McGruff the crime dog? Was that part of DARE? Take a bite out of crime?
McGruff?
Yeah.
I think.
Or maybe that was just a Philly thing, and I'm alienating.
No, I remember McGruff. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you said, she was on Different Strokes, right? They also brought it on to Punky Brewster and Saved by the Bell. Mm. They tried to push the No Hope with Dope slogan.
No hope with dope.
So, so also Home Improvement also reminded us that an alcoholic is obviously better than a pothead only if you smoke a lace joint and there's no methamphetamines, or there's methamphetamines in the joint. Apparently on Home Improvement, someone smoked a lace, or they found marijuana that was laced with methamphetamines.
What? I watched that show. I don't remember that episode.
I remember sometimes they would get like real serious on that show.
Hey, I just thought of one. To pause us and take us back in time, back to this early 80s, late 70s. Have you ever heard of the Star Wars holiday special, the Christmas special?
I've heard of it. Yeah, you've mentioned it.
The people making that were fucked up out of their minds. Carrie Fisher supposedly sings a song because it was like a variety show. You know, the first Star Wars came out. They said, how do we cash in? I don't know. Variety shows are big on TV. All right, we'll do a Star Wars variety show. Swear to God, that's what this is. And the crew that they hired to film this were just like burnouts. They're like, you want us to make what? A Star Wars? Sure. Well, we're going to make it our way. And when they delivered it, they were like, we have to air this thing. And George Lucas hated it and doesn't want to talk about it. Even though George Lucas had something to do with it. Even though George Lucas introduced Boba Fett by that show first and then put him in the movie. All right. So George he likes to just downplay it. But you got to watch it. You got to watch the stoned out of her mind Princess Leia sing as Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, stoned and singing. Yeah. So I guess that technically is a stoned movie.
But we all share with you the hope that this day brings us closer to freedom and to harmony and to peace. No matter how different we appear, we're all the same in our struggle against the powers of evil and darkness. I hope that this day will always be a day of joy in which we can reconfirm our dedication and our courage, and more than anything else, our love for one another. This is the promise of the Tree of Life. We celebrate a day of peace, a day of harmony.
Yeah, I watch it. So
you'll probably have to be stoned to get through it. It is rough.
No, that won't be a problem. So that was kind of where I left off on the history of marijuana in film and television. Everything changes pretty much in the 90s, and there's all kinds of movies and everything that has it in it. So I just wanted to bring up some of my favorites, and then maybe you can bring up some of yours.
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing I remember as a kid, teenager, whatever, I used to watch Roseanne a lot. Did you ever watch Roseanne?
I did, yeah.
You remember the weed episode on that?
Yeah, the brunette had something going on.
I think it was David. David had it. And then
who's David? We talk about Roseanne. David. Yeah. There's a David.
Yeah, the boyfriend.
The kid? The boyfriend?
Yeah.
Boyfriend of who? Wow, you must have been a way bigger fan than me. Okay. All right, so apparently there was a boyfriend I forgot. You're right, curly haired kid, wasn't he on?
Yeah, from The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. All right, it's coming back to me.
So he found weed. I don't know if he found weed or what in the house, but then Dan and Roseanne found the weed, and they realized it was their weed from like the 80s or some shit. And then they got stoned, and they were in the bathroom like with a pizza as they ordered pizza, and they're just like getting stoned in the bathroom, laughing hysterically.
That's cool. That's funny.
And Roseanne is a big marijuana advocate. I'm a big fan of Roseanne. I always thought she was very funny. She had a reality show when she lived in Hawaii a couple years ago. She was always getting high on there.
I don't know much about her other than that 90s show. That thing came and went. That was a behemoth. And she kind of went with it. I know she had to come back and then got herself in trouble with the public or whatever she did, but I just didn't care about any of that.
Right.
I left Roseanne in the past where she belongs.
Yeah. So another thing I remember as a kid is the whole Bill Clinton thing. I know it's not really a film or television, but a show, but it was huge in America. It was
the news. Yeah,
the president of the president elect, or he was trying to get elected. It came out that he had smoked a little marijuana,
right?
And his claim to it was, "I didn't inhale.
I didn't inhale. I smoked it, but I didn't inhale."
Yeah, me neither, Bill.
I didn't touch the intern, and I didn't inhale. That guy's, he can give you a master class on lying. Every once in a while, I'll see that video. It's like, oh man, dude, like you just look guilty. Like you're clearly lying, and you know it.
Yeah, you've seen obviously pictures of Bill and Hillary from the 60s and 70s. Like they were smoking pot.
Yeah, no doubt. He plays saxophone really well. You ever met a saxophone player who doesn't smoke weed?
Exactly.
No way.
Yeah, he's a jazz musician who doesn't smoke pot.
Yeah, right. Sure, Bill.
So another big movie for me growing up was Dazed and Confused.
All right, let's pause here. Dazed and Confused. I have never seen and don't want to see it. Man, I don't know. There's something, I look at that cast and I'm just like, I don't want to see this movie. But I like the ones that have come from that movie. Like that inspired a ton of weed movies, I know. But the weed movies that inspired were like really kind of silly and slapstick. That movie's a little bit like dry humor, serious, drama. What's the word? Comedy, dramedy. What do they call that thing now? Yeah, dramedy. So maybe that's why I avoided it. Or am I wrong? Was it a totally straight up comedy, or do I have the wrong read?
No, you don't have the wrong read. It's definitely I guess, dramedy, I guess, maybe. I don't know. It's a great movie, though. It's not, I don't look at movies like, I don't watch movies based on what they are. I like all kinds of movies. So whether it's I don't care what it is. It's a good movie.
Yeah, I don't know what it was with me in that, because that used to always be around it when I was at college. I'm like, I don't care. I'll go watch Pulp Fiction. It was what I was into. And like, I played in a jam band. I met you playing in a jam band. We were around those guys all the time. They looked just like those guys from the movies. But I look at those guys in that movie and I go, dirty hippies. I don't like hippies. I don't like it. I love hippies. I don't like those hippies. And I don't know why. That might have been one of those things. Like that movie came out when I was still in my total straight edge, don't ever, cross Mrs. Reagan kind of thing. But yeah, it just stuck with me as a movie that I don't like and don't want to see. I never gave it a fair chance.
Actually, now that we're talking about it, it kind of makes me think about it. It actually is one of the only or first movies that I can think of that it shows you the different types of stoners. Do you know what I mean? It shows that basically everyone smokes pot. You know what I mean? Like it's not just the stoners. It's these guys. It's this crowd. It's that crowd. That crowd. Like everyone smokes pot.
Really? Okay. Yeah, because you never see that in movies. It's only that, the Brad Pitt character in True Romance, laid out on the couch in a coma. Okay.
Right. Yeah, it shows you like the different, the different stereotypes because it's a high school movie from the 70s. So it shows you like the jocks, it shows you the hippies, it shows you the, I don't know, name some other stereotypes from the 70s.
That's all there were in the 70s.
Jocks and stoners.
That's it. Geeks weren't even a thing then, I don't think. I don't know.
No, there's definitely some geeks in it. So yeah, and then they show that. So yeah, and they're all, they all show them getting high together. Then we can all be friends.
Yeah. Well, we can't all be friends.
So another one I remember, this is getting a little older than as I'm getting a little older. Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. That was a big one that came out.
That was a big one. That kind of, did that come after? Here's what I got on my list that came out at the same time. The Stone Age. Do you remember that?
Oh.
What about How High?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that around the same time?
Yeah, that was like late 90s, right?
Yeah, right. Harold and Kumar, How High? Like all of a sudden there was Half Baked. Like all of a sudden there were tons of weed comedies. I'm trying to remember if they were around that same, 5-year trend. I don't know.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, Half Baked is on my list. That's around. I don't have. It's just off my head, but I don't have the date. But yeah, it's around that time. Great
Half
movie.
Baked, great movie. Half Baked to me, because I was, not a weed guy at all, wasn't aware of it, didn't have it around. Watching that, and they were like, "There's a lot of different kind of weed smokers." And I remember like all of a sudden he lights a joint, and Snoop Dogg shows up, and he's like, "Oh," they called him like the creeper, the guy that's always around and can smell it when you light it. The other kind is like the guy that just likes to sit around and tell stories, and they cut to Willie Nelson smoking a joint with him, and he's just going off and telling a story and talking and talking and talking and talking. I think I got the beat right for that movie, but yeah, it was a funny movie, man. That was a good one.
Yeah, that's another movie where it shows you all the different types of stoners, like the father and son getting high in different rooms, and they like never talk to each other. They're both smoking weed.
That was probably Dave Chappelle's first movie.
No, Dave's first movie was Men in Tights.
No, really? I think wasn't he in Con Air too? I think he was with Nicolas Cage. Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that one up after. Leave comments. Tell me I'm an idiot. I don't care about. But yeah, so it was Dave Chappelle. It was Goat Boy, Jim Brewer. Guy's funny. And then there was a third guy. I don't remember him. I'm not even sure he made movies after that. He just sort of vanished. But yeah, the three of them, the jokes were amazing in that movie. It was a very well done movie. Yeah. For my little 90s brain. So I think it came out in the 90s. When did it come out?
Had to be late 90s. 99. I'm going to say 98, 99 because I think I might have just graduated high school.
Right. And that took you 8 years, 9 years? 1998 American stoner comedy film.
Look at that, Bill. Pretty good, huh?
Well done. A budget of $8 million. Gotta think that made its money back. That movie's popular.
Hell yeah, man. All right, give me some off of your list. I have a few. I have like one or two more.
Well, I know there's one here that you definitely have on your list. All the Jay and Silent Bob stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, Kevin Smith. And it's funny, Kevin Smith didn't start smoking weed until after he made Clerks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, the Silent Jay is hysterical. Jay, when that movie, which one was it? It was the one, it wasn't Strikes Back. It was, which one was it? Maybe it was Strikes Back. He's like, fuck, motherfuck, noich, noich, noich. What?
Motherfuck, noich, noich, noich. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Noich, noich, noich. Smoking weed, doing coke, drinking beers, rolling fatties, smoking blunts. Who smokes the blunts? We smoke the blunts. Rolling blunts and smoking.
That's the damn thing I used to have in my head. $15, little man, put that shit in my hand. He had a whole weed rap. Yeah, those were good movies, man. What was the new one that just came out? I watched it. I remember it didn't have the same sort of feel as the others. It didn't work the same way.
Yeah, it's the exact same movie, just done over again.
Yeah,
Reboot. James Silent Bob reboot.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, those are good. Those are good. Um, I have on here something called Evil Bong. Have you seen the Evil Bong movies?
Dude, I tried to get through Evil Bong.
Oh,
It's
they're
rough.
good. No, they're good. It's a good rough. Yeah, they are terribly done. And Tommy Chong is in some of them. Oh, and he's just laughing the whole time through because he like you can tell he's just like, this is stupid, and he's having so much fun. Like he's just laughing to himself. You can tell he's just having fun. Nothing about that movie makes sense.
That's why I tried to watch it, because Tommy was in it, and I think before our interview, I even got the what is it, Full Empire Productions, right? There's
Full Moon, Full Moon, I think Full Moon.
Full Moon, yeah, Full Moon Productions, and yeah, I actually they have a subscription service. It's like $5 a month. You can get all of their movies, and I got that for 1 month.
Yeah. Maybe they got to rethink their go-to-market strategy. Man, they're gonna get cancellations faster than HBO Max. That's fucked up. That's funny, man. Yeah, I saw a whole bunch of them. They all kind of meshed together. Like the actors changed throughout, and then all of a sudden it's like after part 6, whatever they're up to, it's Evil Bong versus like Ginger Dread Man or Ginger Dead Man. Like you start going into some of the other Full Moon characters, and I don't know if they have an Evil Bong versus Puppet Master, but it's probably something they got. Yeah, I can only take so many of them, but for a dopey pot movie, pretty funny movie.
Terrible.
We love the stupid stuff. I love when we go, that movie sucks, but it's like we're never clear, like good sucks or bad sucks, because in our world there's another division. In most people, they don't have that division.
I know so many of the movies that I tell you to watch are so bad too, and I love them so much.
Yeah, it's part of the fun of it. It really is. It's like you could watch these studios put together. I just saw that new Spider-Man movie, just superb. Like it's like, wow. Sure, plot holes all over, but the fact that they put together this monstrosity and it works for the most part, incredible. I love that as much as I love knowing that like 5 people went out and made a movie. And it's still fascinating to me on any front.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about that Spider-Man movie, but unfortunately, I've never seen any Spider-Man movies, and I'm going to stick to that.
When they were in the office drawing up this thing, they're like, listen, everybody's going to love this movie, but there's going to be that one guy who's not going to get any of this. You're the guy.
I've seen one clip from Spider-Man 2, and it's 30 seconds long because Joey Diaz is in the movie, and I watched that clip.
Well, you'll be happy to know he's also in the new one.
You're a liar.
He replays the same role. Yeah.
You're a liar. He gets killed in Spider-Man 2.
Oh, I didn't even know he was in it, to be honest with you. That's probably before he was a podcaster, I would guess, since that movie's
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, Bill. So wrapping up, we're getting close to the end here. Another one of my favorites. This is a really good series. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Weeds. Have you ever seen this?
I've heard of it. No, and I guess I should have assumed it was about weed, but believe it or not, I didn't. So it's a weed.
Yeah.
It's a weed show.
Yeah, really good show. It's about a mom, like suburban mom in California, LA, just selling weed to her neighborhood, her friends, and then it does get a little crazy towards the end of the series. As far as like they're bringing women across the Mexican border in a tunnel and shit. Like it gets a little it gets a little crazy, but it's still a very good series.
Was that out about the same time as Breaking Bad?
No, it was out before Breaking Bad.
Okay.
Yeah, Genji, what's her name? Genji Cohen.
Who?
She made it. She's made a lot of different series. Her name is, I believe, Genji Cohen.
I don't know her or him.
Yeah.
Or they. But yeah, I mean, my thought was that they'd be inspired by by Breaking Bad, because Breaking Bad just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So little suburban mom and things just start, the drama starts piling on. All right.
Yeah, I believe actually Breaking Bad might have gotten their idea from Weeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kevin Nealon's in that, who I think is funny.
He's great, man. He's great in it. He's one of her customers.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's one of her customers, and he's also her accountant.
And who's she? I'm blanking on her name. She's
Mary
really,
Louise Parker.
yeah, I like her and stuff too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never checked that one out.
Yeah, check
Yeah.
it out, man. It's very good.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it on the list of shit I'll never get to. You got it. That list is as long as Santa's, scroll. Like there's just so much stuff.
Do you have any more on your list?
That was really it for me. Like I said, it was not much of an interest of mine, but kind of going through this, I realized, shit, some of the best comedies that I can think of are weed movies. So how about that?
Yeah.
Look what we've learned. Look what we've
How about,
learned.
I got two more I can mention that are favorites of mine. How about Caddyshack?
Sure. Weed and Caddyshack. Chevy Chase and the caddy.
Bill Murray.
Wait, it was Chevy Chase and Bill Murray smoking weed together.
Yep.
Okay, I don't remember. What was the scene?
He was playing at night, Chevy Chase, and he hits the ball into Bill Murray's shack.
Yep. Okay.
And he has like a giant joint rolled, and it's some Kentucky bluegrass.
Kentucky Bluegrass.
Grew it my own. Grew it myself.
That's a good impression. You do good. That's
Gunga,
right. I did forget that.
Gunga, Gunga. Remember that part? That's not that scene, but
I only know that.
yes, Caddyshack, and then another one of my favorites is a newer movie from the 2000s. How about Pineapple Express?
Pineapple Express. How did I forget that? Yeah, man, I liked that one a lot when that came out. That's right.
Great
Wait a
movie.
minute, so we got to think about everything Seth Rogen I haven't thought about because right, he snuck weed into a lot of his flicks.
Yeah, but Pineapple Express was one of the best weed movies I think there is out there.
Yeah, I gotta watch that again. I remember really liking that.
It once again gets a little out. I mean, it gets fucking crazy towards the end. There's like explosions and they're fighting and gunfights and all that shit.
Yeah, that's right. It's not
still a great movie though.
Right.
Great stoner movie.
It's an action movie. It's like a stoner action movie.
Yeah.
It's about as action-packed as a stoner movie could possibly get. There's no giant aliens taking over the world. No, that's too big for a stoner movie.
Yeah, man. So, that basically wraps up all of my favorite movies and marijuana and film and all that stuff.
I'll even say I think we represented every single film ever made. I don't think we missed one. Everybody, if we missed one, we'd love to hear your comments. So why don't we wrap up the show, Case? Why don't you do our plugs, and we'll call it an episode.
Plugs, as Bill said in the beginning, smash that like button, ring the bell, follow us over on Facebook at the group Deluxe Edition. Well, actually, we changed the name over on Facebook, Bill. Maybe we should tell people that. We are Deluxe Edition, a classic pop culture podcast now on Facebook. Join our group.
We did that for the SEO. We're trying to get ranked better in these goddamn podcast systems. Damn, these things are archaic. They have no intelligence at all.
Yeah, we're everywhere that podcasts are found. Watch us on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, which is free, they now have a rating system. Give us a 5-star rating on there. Also, we're on the Den Network, the Deluxe Edition Network, the Den.show. And the podcast of the month this month, Bill, is Horsing Around. Joel the hair surgeon and all the fillers over at Red Horse Hair Salon. They do a podcast called Horsing Around. It's really great. They do conspiracies. I know you're not into the conspiracy stuff, Bill, but I am. And it's a really fun show. And check those guys out and everyone else over at the Den.show.
Yeah, right on. And those guys are funny. Like they're the backstory on them. I don't know. Did they tell this? But they're local barbers in the area. And I used to go get my haircut. You get your haircut there. They're just, we all know Joel, and I got to know everybody else. And you sit there and you get your haircut, and you're basically in the middle of a podcast. Like they are the funniest people, and they all work so closely together and know each other so well, but they all still seem to surprise each other with new shit. Yeah. So somebody got the idea. Maybe it was you. Hey, you guys ought to do a podcast. and it's good.
Yeah, it wasn't my idea. They had the idea on their own, but yeah, definitely check it out. Check everyone else out over on the den.show, and we are at deluxeedition.show and everywhere else that you can find podcasts. Oh, also, I know it's in there, but by our sponsor, Bear Claw Kitchen. I have the gimmick here. Bear Claw, really good granola. They're coming out with some new stuff this year, too, so check it out.
We do, for the people watching YouTube or the podcast version of the show, we can put in those little dynamic ads. And right now we have a Bear Claw ad that I don't know where you got this ad done, but that guy who does the ad, and if you're listening to this later, we've switched affiliates. You may never hear this, but he's like, "Hey, everybody, come check out Deluxe Edition and buy some Bear Claw." Like, he's the greatest voice I've ever heard. And then I started listening to it, and I was like, this guy's so good, I think I have heard him. In fact, I think he's the only guy that does commercials. Like, he's the commercial guy. His voice is perfect.
Yeah, I actually got the commercial guy.
Yeah, he does them all.
Yeah.
There used to be another guy. The other guy used to go, "In a world." Yeah. You know what you guys are talking about? In a world.
Was that you?
Yeah. Couldn't tell. It was me. That's how he made my money. In a world where babies can kill their parents with just a stare. Like, whoever that guy had a great voice too. The action guy.
Hell yeah, man.
Well, now we got this guy. The podcast ad guy.
All right, Bill. That'll wrap us up for the week. So thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate it. Tell your friends.
Smoke them if you got them.